don't know where they came from. We have no idea where they disappeared to. And chances are we've never truly heard their story. They've told you the myths, you've heard the conspiracies. But this time, I'm here to tell you the truth about the Maya. A civilization wrapped in mystery, and yet considered one of the most advanced societies to ever exist in Mesoamerica. Ritual games where the winner was sacrificed to the gods. Pyramids built without a single piece of metal. Calendars so precise, they tracked the stars better than most modern tech. They knew something we still haven't fully figured out. So let's start from the beginning. Who were the Maya, and how did they rise from the jungle to touch the stars? Long before the Spanish ships ever touched the shores of the New World, before Columbus ever imagined his voyage, there was a people thriving deep within the jungles of Central America. They called themselves the Maya, a civilization that spanned what is now southern Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and parts of Honduras and El Salvador. And unlike empires that rose and fell under one ruler or capital, the Maya weren't a single kingdom. They were dozens of powerful city-states, each with their own kings, armies, and gods, sometimes allies, more often rivals. Cities like Tikal, Palenque, Calakmul, and Copan rose from the jungle like stone fortresses of the gods. But don't let the beauty fool you. These weren't just temples and plazas, they were power hubs where politics, religion, and blood were deeply intertwined. At the top stood the Kuhul Ajah, the Holy King, not just a ruler, but a divine bridge between gods and mortals. Below him, priests who read the stars, warriors who captured enemies for sacrifice, artisans, farmers, builders, and at the very bottom, enslaved prisoners of war. This was a society built on order, but also on fear, faith, and blood. Rituals were constant, from births to wars to harvests. Every major event was tied to the will of the gods. And those gods, they were everywhere, in the rain, the sun, the wind, even the corn they ate. The Maya didn't just worship nature. They believed they were made of it. They recorded everything: wars, alliances, offerings, eclipses, carved into stone stelae, and painted into codices now mostly lost to time. When the Spanish came, they burned almost all of it. So who were the Maya really? They were warriors and scientists, priests and architects, poets and astronomers. They built one of the most complex civilizations the Americas had ever seen. And yet, most people today only remember a doomsday prophecy. But to understand the full scale of what they achieved, we need to step inside their cities, because the layout of their world was written in the stars. Time didn't just pass in the Maya world. It echoed. It spiraled. It returned. The Maya didn't see time as a straight line. They saw it as a cycle. Every moment was part of a greater rhythm, one that connected the stars, the gods, and the fate of mankind. While Europe was still adjusting to the Julian calendar, the Maya had created a system that was so precise. Its annual margin of error is just 17 seconds. No telescopes, no satellites, just sky, stone, and pure observation. They used two main calendars, a 365-day solar calendar and a 260-day ritual calendar. Together, they formed the calendar round, a 52-year cycle of cosmic alignment. But their obsession didn't end there. They tracked Venus with stunning accuracy. They timed battles, sacrifices, and royal events based on its movements. Their number system? Base 20, with place values and a concept of zero. Centuries before Europe figured that out, they recorded dates stretching back millions of years. From creation myths to solar eclipses, they logged it all. And yes, that 2012 prophecy? It wasn't the end of the world. It was the end of one great cycle and the start of another. In the heart of every major Maya city, there was a stadium. It wasn't about cheering crowds or trophies. This game had only one purpose: to choose who to sacrifice. But the ones to be sacrificed weren't the losers, as you might think. They were the winners. They called it Pock-ta-Pock. Two teams entered the court with a single goal, but not the kind you're thinking of. The ball was heavy, made of solid rubber, and players couldn't use their hands or feet, only hips, elbows, and shoulders. Their mission? To knock that ball through a narrow stone ring, mounted high above the court walls. And it wasn't easy. Some matches lasted hours, others days. And the stakes? They weren't playing for riches or fame. They were playing for ritual death. Because to the Maya, the gods deserved the best. Only the strongest, the most honorable, were worthy of sacrifice. The captain of the winning team would be offered up, his blood spilled to nourish the divine. Archaeologists have uncovered courts lined with altars, drainage systems for blood, and burial pits beneath the very fields where they played. And the acoustics? So precise. A whisper from the king's box could be heard across the entire court. But the Maya didn't just offer bodies. They understood them, cut them, repaired them, even upgraded them. What they knew about medicine might shock you. You might think of the Maya as warriors and priests, but you might not know they were also surgeons. In fact, they performed some of the first dental implants in history. They carved holes into the front teeth and inserted jade, turquoise, or obsidian stones, not just for decoration, but to impress, intimidate, and in some cases, to heal. These implants weren't random. They used herbal mixtures with natural antibacterial properties to prevent infection. Some compounds even helped to regrow gum tissue. For open wounds, they didn't have silk or thread, so they used human and animal hair to stitch skin back together. They even performed cranial trepanation, drilling into skulls to relieve pressure after head trauma. Some patients survived. Their bone tissue shows signs of healing. This wasn't trial and error. This was knowledge, passed down by priest healers who studied plants, wounds, stars, and spirits. Most of their medical knowledge is gone, burned with the codices. But the evidence carved into bones and teeth, they weren't just bloodthirsty, they were brilliant. But healing wasn't always enough. Sometimes they wanted to transform the body into something more sacred. And what they did to their face is something you will want to know. When archaeologists first unearthed Maya skulls, some thought they'd found proof of ancient aliens. The heads were elongated, the foreheads deliberately flattened, and many had crossed eyes. But no, they weren't extraterrestrials. This was intentional. From infancy, Maya nobles had wooden boards tied to their heads, gently shaping the skull into a longer, flatter form. Why? Because to the Maya, this wasn't deformity, it was beauty. To create crossed eyes, parents dangled beads in front of babies, training their vision to cross permanently. Strange? Maybe. But in Maya culture, crossed eyes were a symbol of status, a mark of divinity. And it didn't stop there. They pierced their ears, stretching them with enormous jade plugs. They reshaped their noses using wax and bone, filed their teeth into sharp points, sometimes inlaid with precious stones. These weren't fashion choices. They were status markers. The more transformed your face, the higher your rank. In a world ruled by gods and kings, your body wasn't just yours. It was your first offering. For centuries, Maya cities thrived. Towering pyramids rose from the jungle. Trade routes stretched for miles. Their calendars tracked the heavens, and rituals brought meaning to every season. But by the end of the 9th century, many of those cities were simply gone. Not destroyed in battle, not burned by invasion, just abandoned. So what happened? The collapse wasn't sudden. It came slowly, through centuries of deforestation, overfarming, and a deepening reliance on fragile land. Then came the droughts. The rain stopped, crops failed, and hunger took hold. In cities like Tikal, archaeologists have found traces of mercury in sacred reservoirs, likely from ritual pigments, slowly poisoning the very water people depended on. As famine spread and systems failed, the jungle crept back in, reclaiming the temples stone by stone. And just as the old world was fading, Spanish conquistadors arrived on the shores. Some Maya believed they were witnessing the return of a god. Many resisted, others did not. But what followed was not salvation. It was conquest, forced conversion, slavery, and fire. The goddesses were burned, the temples looted, and an ancient voice fell silent. But silence doesn't mean forgotten, because the Maya didn't vanish. Today, nearly 7 million Maya descendants still live across Central America, preserving their languages, rituals, and connection to the land. Have you ever met someone with Maya heritage or seen their culture up close? Tell us in the comments. We'd love to hear your story. And if you've made it this far, you know we've only just scratched the surface. Subscribe for more untold truths, ancient mysteries, and the secrets they tried to bury.